Hi everyone, welcome to the first webinar conducted by TCS Online in lieu of the CIMA management case study sessions or examinations happening in May and August 2022. My name is Nick and I'm one of the tutors at TCS. And in this session, I will be talking about what you need to do before the Prescene is released, what type of preparation you need to go through before the Prescene is released, because as you should know by now, your Prescene document will be released next Friday. So before that, you have 7 days to work on your exam preparation. So that's what I'm going to highlight in this webinar. All right, so let's move on to the session outcomes. This session is divided into 3 main areas. In the first part of this session, I will be talking about the exam structure of the management case study examinations. And you need to know the nitty-gritties pertaining to, or the technicalities pertaining to the management case study examination to make sure that you can easily pass this examination. And on top of that, as part of the second area of this session, I will be talking about marking criteria. It's of utmost importance that you understand the psychology of the marker. You need to know how or what type of activities the marker adheres to, or what type of a methodology the marker adheres to when providing marks at your examination. So you need to have a good understanding about the marking criteria. So I will be highlighting the criteria as the second part of this session. And as part of the third area of this session, I will be taking you through examiner's comments, because as I told you earlier, it's of utmost importance that you understand what the examiner requires out of you. And after each case study session, the examiner comes up with or publicizes an examiner's report. And in that, the examiner highlights what a typical student should do or should get right to make sure that they can easily pass the management case study examination. So that's the third part. And at the very end of today's session, I will be opening up the forum for a Q&A session. Okay, so let's look at the pathway to MCS. So set of students come through the CIMA general route. So these type of students had done a CIMA examination before, because you would have passed the operational case study examination. And on top of that, you should do the OTQ exams and pass them doing E2, P2 and F2. So you'd have a good understanding about the syllabus content, as well as what type of a case study you would have to face at your management level. So that's the CIMA general route. And on top of that, there would be a set of students coming through the FLP route, or this is widely known as the Finance Leadership Program. You should know that this is an exemption route, and individuals who had completed their master's or postgraduate studies can come through this exemption route and straight away do the management case study examination. So let's look at the structure of the exam, or the technicalities of the exam. Your exam is a PC-based examination. You need to know that. Even if you are not doing your examination at a designated center, or if you are doing your examination at home, you need to know, you need to adhere to a certain set of guidelines to make sure that you are accustomed to exam conditions. So I will be talking about these things later on. And the paper is a 3-hour paper, which consists of 4 main tasks, and each task carries a time allocation of 45 minutes each. So 45 minutes into 4, that makes up your 3 hours. So you need to have a good understanding about how you are supposed to manage this time which is allocated, because you need to know that this is a time pressured examination. So I will be talking about these things later on as part of the second webinar, which I'll be, sorry, the third webinar, which I'll be conducting. And the pass mark which you need to achieve is 80 out of 150 or 54%. Right. So let's get into the technicalities. Let's look at the overview of the examination. Information is provided about a fictitious company in advance. So the examiner will be publicizing something called a Prescene document. So your Prescene, which is relevant for the session happening in May, will be released next Friday. Okay. So in this Prescene document, the examiner provides you information about a fictitious company. So in this Prescene, a typical Prescene is divided into 4 main areas. In the first part of the Prescene, the examiner provides information pertaining to, or the examiner provides an introduction into the company. So the examiner will talk about the founders, the history of the company, what the company is up to at the moment, and on top of that, what type of an organizational structure is there, what type of leadership is there. The examiner will highlight about the board members and whatnot, their capabilities as well as their experience. And on top of that, the vision, mission, as well as if there are any values within the company, all these things will be highlighted as part of the first part of the Prescene document. In the second part of the Prescene, the examiner will specifically mention about the internal dynamics or the company operations. So the examiner will highlight about the type of products or services offered by the company, what type of strategies the company is adopting, and on top of that, what type of knowledge the company has about what it's doing at the moment, as well as what will happen in the future. All these types of information will be provided as part of company operations or internal dynamics. And in the third part, the examiner will give you information pertaining to an industry or the selected industry. So an industry analysis will be conducted where the examiner provides you with necessary information which helps you to understand the type of company you are dealing with. So that's the third part. And in the fourth and final part of your Prescene document, the financial statements of the selected company will be provided. So the SOPL, the SOFP, as well as the cash flow statements will be provided in order to give some type of an idea to the candidate about the financial performance of the company. So these are the areas which are covered in a typical Prescene document. And I would actually ask you to attend the second webinar where I will be carrying out a Prescene analysis. So I said that your Prescene document will be released next Friday. So I will be doing this Prescene, the second webinar pertaining to Prescene analysis next Saturday at 5 p.m. UK time. So that's that about the Prescene document. In the exam, you are required to address issues or questions relating to the operations of the company. So I said that the examiner gives you some type of information about the company, the internal dynamics, the industry in which the company operates, as well as information pertaining to the financial performance. So based on all these information, when you go to the exam, the examiner is trying to replicate a real world corporate environment. So in such a context, your senior finance manager will be, asking you certain questions, asking you for certain recommendations. The senior finance manager will be highlighting certain problems within the organization, and you are supposed to report to, as the finance manager of the company, you are supposed to report to the senior finance manager. And when developing these issues or questions at the exam, the examiner is trying to figure out whether you have an appropriate level of knowledge about the company as well as the industry in which it operates. So if you do not go through the Prescene document properly, you cannot fulfill this requirement. So it's of utmost importance that you have a good understanding about the company as well as the industry, because as a finance manager of a company, you are supposed to know about the internal dynamics as well as in the industry as well as the numbers. So you need to have a good understanding about the company as well as the industry. And on top of that, the examiner is trying to figure out whether you have you have the capability of applying knowledge which you had gained by studying E2, P2, and F2 related syllabus content. So just knowing the Prescene document won't help you. You need to know how to apply the concepts or knowledge which you gained through E2, P2, and F2 related areas. So that's an overview of the exam. So let's try to figure out what your role is. You are supposed to play the role of a finance manager. So as you already know, in a typical organization, it is divided into three main areas. At the very top, you get the strategic level where you get the board of directors. In the middle, you get the tactical or the management level, where you get middle level management. And at the lowest level of the organization, you get something called the operational level. And this consists of individuals who are carrying out or implementing strategies prepared by the strategic level. So you are playing the role of a finance manager. So you are at the middle level of the organization. So you are at middle level management. So you need to know, you are the link between the strategic level and the operational level. Okay, so that's what your role is, and you are supposed to report to your senior finance manager. Okay, so that's your role. As a finance manager, you need to have a moderate level of application and practical thinking, and that's what's expected at the MCS examination. So theories are tested, not the theories which will be tested, or the examiner will not be testing too much of technical knowledge like what was tested in the operational case study, because the OCS or the operational case study is highly technical. However, that type of technical nitty-gritties will not be tested at the MCS level. Still, you need to have a good understanding about concepts which you learned under E2, P2, and F2. So theories will be tested, and practical decision making comes into the picture as well, because as a finance manager, you are supposed to be involved with some type of decision making or assist decision makers in the medium term. So because of that, I've said that practical decision making is tested. So you need to have a good understanding about the theoretical components or concepts, and on top of that, you need to have an appropriate level of knowledge as to how you can apply this knowledge to a given business problem. Okay, so that's your role. And let's move on to the second part of today's webinar, where I'll be talking about the marking criteria. So I said that it's of utmost importance that you understand what the examiner requires from you and how the examiner is allocating marks. So there will be two markers who will be allocating marks before the final mark is finalized. So your paper will be marked by two individuals, and both these individuals will be providing marks separately, and these marks will be averaged out before determining your final mark. And mark allocation for each subtask appears as a percentage under each requirement. Yes, so I said that there are four main tasks in your examination. Under each main task, you would have two or three subtasks, and under each subtask, you would see some type of weightage provided. So for instance, if subtask number 1 carries a weightage of 50%, what it tells you is out of the total amount of marks allocated for the task, 50% is allocated for subtask number 1. And you can use this weightage to manage your time as well. So if there's a 50% weightage, then out of the 45 minutes you are supposed to allocate for each task, you are supposed to allocate 50% of your time. So this is of utmost importance. You need to understand how you need to manage your time, as well as how you can gain marks according to the weightages provided. Again, as I told you earlier, if you attend our third webinar, all these types of, I will be providing different types of tips as to how you can gain marks as well as manage your time appropriately. So I invite you to attend the third webinar, where I'll be talking about answering technique. And marks are allocated based on merit. So the examiner picks quality over quantity. I've met so many students who would say, you know, I wrote paragraphs and paragraphs of answers, yet I ended up failing the exam. So you need to know, just because you write chunks and chunks or paragraphs and paragraphs of information or answers, you won't gain marks. You need to specifically identify the requirement of the task, and based on the requirement, you need to understand the mark allocation or the weightage provided, and based on the weightage you need to develop your answer. So doing this is not too easy. You need to get accustomed to this answer planning technique. So that's why I'm suggesting you to attend the third webinar, where I'll be highlighting all the nitty-gritties pertaining to answering technique, and I'll be highlighting the best practices as well. So remember, the examiner picks quality over quantity. Right. So let's try to figure out what the examiner is telling us. So I've taken this information out of the examiner's report, which I said is publicized after every case study. So let's look at what the tips are. Tips for future candidates: good answers require relevance to the requirement. I highlighted this point earlier as well. So I said it's of utmost importance that you understand the requirement, and then you need to start developing your answer. So understand, most of the time, because students panic, they end up not understanding the requirement properly. You need to spend some time to understand the exact requirement, because the answer which you are providing needs to be fully relevant to the requirement which is highlighted by the examiner. And you need to possess some type of technical knowledge of syllabus content. So this is what the examiner is telling you. So I highlighted that point earlier. I said you need to have a good understanding about E2, P2 and F2 related syllabus areas. So that's the type of technical knowledge you need to possess. And on top of that, as I highlighted earlier, you need to have an understanding about how to apply that knowledge which you have gained through E2, P2 and F2 related areas. Just writing theoretical answers or highly theoretical answers won't get you any marks at the management case study examination. You need to know your theories, but when you are replicating these theories in your answers, what you need to do is you need to apply to the company as well as apply to the requirement at hand. And you are supposed to come up with well-structured answers. So when you are coming up with an answer structure, you are supposed to use paragraphs. So you need to know how to provide answers in paragraphs. The examiner is actually asking you not to provide single-lined answers or answers in single sentences, or the examiner does not want you to provide answers in bullet points. So you need to know how to develop answers and provide these answers as paragraphs. And when it comes to structuring your answer, it's better if you can come up with something called an answer plan before you start typing the answer. So I will be talking about these things in webinar number 3, where I will tell you that you need to spend 1/3 of your time on planning the answer or coming up with an answer plan, and the remaining 2/3 of your time should be allocated to type your answers. So most students do not do this. most students, what they do is they go through the requirement and straight away they start typing the answers. That's not recommended, because as per the examiner, you are supposed to spend some time to structure your answer, or come up with an answer plan or an answer structure. So I'll be highlighting how we are supposed to do these things later on in webinar number 3. And you have to, if you are bringing in any arguments as a finance manager of the company, you are supposed to bring in certain arguments. And when bringing in your arguments, you have to always justify your arguments. You can't just provide generic answers. You need to at all times justify what you are suggesting to the board members or the senior finance manager. Right. So let's look at what the examiner expects you to do before the exam. So before the exam, you are supposed to study all areas of the syllabus. Again, the examiner highlights the fact that you need to know your theoretical concepts, as well as your knowledge, as well as knowledge pertaining to E2, P2, and F2 related areas. So it's of utmost importance that you study all areas of syllabus. You are not supposed to leave out any parts of the syllabus, because anything can be tested. Any syllabus area can be tested at the management case study examination. And on top of that, the examiner says students need to practice in order to understand how to apply knowledge gained from E2, P2, F2, and apply it to the apply all this theoretical knowledge which we have gained to a considered scenario or a problem faced by the organization. So application to the scenario is of utmost importance. And how do you make sure that you know how to bring in your theoretical knowledge into your answers, and how can you apply your knowledge to the scenario? There's one thing which you need to do. You need to practice tasks or practice mock exams. So we at TCS are providing 5 exam standard mock exams and suggested answers. So if you go through these 5 mock exams, then that's enough practice before the examination. So as you know, between the Prescene release and the examination date, there are 6 weeks. So utilizing these 6 weeks, you need to practice at least 5 exam standard mock examinations. And if you feel that you need additional help, if you're really comfortable with self-study, then you can practice these mock exams on your own. However, if you feel that you need some help or personalized feedback, then definitely you have to show your answers to a tutor and seek his or her feedback. So practicing tasks is of utmost importance, and the examiner also expects you to type or write full answers. So your paper, a typical MCS paper, carries a time allocation of 3 hours. So when you are practicing mock exams, just practicing certain subtasks or part of tasks won't do, or practicing one task at a time won't do. You need to practice the entire mock, sit in one place and attempt the mock at a stretch, thereby spending or investing 3 hours of your time. So that's what the examiner is asking you to do before the exam. The examiner wants you to practice exam standard mock exams. And on top of that, during the exam, the examiner wants you to plan your answer appropriately. So I said, when planning your answer, 1/3 of your time should be spent on coming up with something called an answer plan, and 2/3 of your time should be spent on typing. So that's the type of planning the examiner wants you to replicate in your real exam. So you can't just do it at the exam day. You need to practice for it. So that's exactly why I said that you need to go through or attempt 5 exam standard mock exams. If you do that, and if you plan your answers appropriately when attempting these mock exams, then you would find it easy to replicate the same methodology at your real exam. And the examiner is saying that the marker is under strict instructions to mark answers on their merits. So I highlighted this point earlier as well. I said that the examiner picks quality over quantity. So that's exactly what is mentioned in here. where the marker is under strict instructions to mark answers on their merits, not based on quantity, but based on quality. Right. So I was talking about the significance of attempting 5 mock exams. So what are the best practice which you need to adhere to when attempting mock exams? You are supposed to attempt a minimum of 5 mock exams. Different tutors say different things about this, but why I would suggest you to do 5 mock exams is we cannot cover the entire syllabus pertaining to the management level by preparing just 2 or 3 mocks. In order to cover the entire syllabus, we have to prepare, definitely we have to prepare 5 mock exams. So if you want to cover the entire syllabus, I would suggest you to attempt 5 exam standard mock exams. And when practicing these mocks, the examiner suggested that we need to practice mock exams. And what type of methodology you need to adhere to when practicing these mock exams? Practice mocks under simulated exam environment, which is similar to the examination, the real examination. So as I told you earlier, the time allocation for the entire paper is 3 hours. So at the exam, you are supposed to attempt the entire paper in one go. So when practicing your mock exams, try to replicate the same scenario. Okay, try to isolate yourself from the try to isolate yourself when practicing mock exams. Try to find a calm and quiet place. Make sure that there aren't any disturbances, to make sure that you replicate a real life examination scenario. And if you can attempt mock exams on an exam platform which is similar to the Pearson VUE platform provided by CIMA, then it would be easier for you at the exam, because you would be accustomed to the exam platform. So we at TCS are providing our own version of an exam platform, which is actually a replication of the Pearson VUE system. So if you attempt our mock exams within our exam platform itself, then you are in a position to better understand the technicalities of the platform you'd see at the exam, and on top of that, get yourself accustomed to the exam platform which you'd face at the real exam. And let's assume you have booked your exam for 9 a.m. So typically your paper would run from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So when attempting your mock exams, it's better if you can attempt from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., thereby psychologically getting accustomed to real exam conditions. So that's about simulating an exam environment, which is of utmost importance when practicing your mocks. Then on top of that, you can seek personalized feedback. So it's better if you can seek personalized feedback, because it's better to get an opinion from a tutor who has enough experience about the management case study. And always you can improve by seeking feedback from someone who knows about the examination. So seek personalized feedback. That's one of the best practices which you can adopt. And on top of that, practice builds thinking, speed, and confidence. So if you practice, you are going to gain a lot at the real exam. So because if you practice now, when you're practicing mock exams, the first 2 mocks, when trying to provide answers for the first 2 mocks, you would find it to be a bit jittery. However, once you get accustomed to the system, from mock 3 onwards, you would see some type of an improvement. So the examiner asks you to practice. I myself is asking you to practice, because if you practice before the examination, then you can think straight at the examination. You can think fast, and on top of that, when you are confident, you end up providing better answers. Okay, so that's that. And you are not supposed to reproduce suggested answers in the exam. I've seen so many students who are trying to memorize answers which appear in the suggested answers. There's absolutely no point of doing that. By looking at the suggested answer, what we are supposed to do is you are supposed to figure out the structure of the answer based on the mark allocation or the time allocation. How many points are provided in the answer, and how are these points structured? How are these points relating to the company, and how are these answer points relating to the problem at hand which is faced by the company? So the type of question, we cannot predict the type of questions you would get at the real exam. So because of that, there's absolutely no point of trying to reproduce suggested answers. Okay, you can go through the suggested answer to identify the answer structure. Other than that, absolutely no point of memorizing suggested answers. So these are the best practices which you need to adhere to when attempting mock exams. Okay, so let me talk about what we offer at TCS. We offer two main packages pertaining to the upcoming MCS examinations happening in May 2022. And let me talk about the first package, which is known as the Essential Package. The Essential Package consists of full Prescene analysis videos. So I highlighted the fact that the Prescene document is divided into four main areas. Area number one carries information about in area number one, an introduction to the company is provided. In area number two, the examiner highlights about company operations. In area number three, information pertaining to industry dynamics are provided. And in area number four, the financial statements are provided. Information pertaining to financial statements are provided. So for each of these areas, we will be doing 4 different videos. Okay, so if you purchase the Essential Pack, you will have access to all these 4 different videos. And when developing these videos, we stick to something called an annotated Prescene, which our lead tutors had developed. So the annotated Prescene is actually going through the annotated Prescene as well as these 4 videos will ensure that you have a good understanding about the company dynamics as well as industry dynamics and whatnot. Okay, so if you go through our annotated Prescene document, and if you go through these 4 Prescene analysis videos, that's the amount of information you need to have to successfully pass the management case study examination. So that's that. Then we are providing an industry analysis as well. In here, we are providing a separate set of slides or document or separate document which highlights the industry dynamics, taking into consideration real life technical information as well as real life examples. Okay, so by going through this industry analysis, you are in a position to fine tune your understanding about the industry which is tested at your exam, because it's better to have additional knowledge about the industry before facing the examination. And we are offering 5 exam standard mock exams and suggested answers as part of the Essential Pack. This is the most important service which we are providing under this package. So these 5 exam standard mock exams, as I told you earlier, covers all relevant syllabus content which can be tested at your exam. And after going through these suggested answers, you'd be in a position to gain an understanding about the type of answers you are supposed to provide at the exam. And there's a separate set of slides for financial analysis as well. So based on the statement of profit and loss, statement of financial position, and statement of cash flows, I've conducted, rather the lead tutors of TCS has conducted horizontal analysis as well as a ratio analysis highlighting the financial nitty-gritties of the company. And we are predicting top 10 likely issues or themes which can be tested at your real exam. So that document is also there, and you'd get your hands on the MCS familiarization kit, which highlights the technicalities of the examination. So that's something, if you are coming through the FLP route, definitely you need to go through this MCS familiarization kit. And on top of that, you'd have access to the WhatsApp discussion forum. I think most of you guys are already part of the WhatsApp discussion forum. If not, join our WhatsApp group where you students just like you as well as the tutors of TCS are part and parcel of this group, so you can share your thoughts, learn from each other, and on top of that, if you have certain issues, you can directly post your questions onto the group chat so that the tutors of TCS can assist you. Okay, and at the very end, we are providing a pass guarantee as well. So if by any chance you end up failing the examination after using our resources, which is highly unlikely, however, if you end up failing the exam after using our resources, you would have access to the same set of resources or the same set of resources which we are providing under the specific package in the next sitting as well, free of charge. So that's the pass guarantee which we are providing. And for all this, the investment is going to be £99. Then let me take you through the second package which we are providing, which is known as the value pack. So you get access to everything which I mentioned about under the essential pack, under the value pack. On top of what you have, the type of content you gain access to under the essential pack, we provide provide the access to an online mock exam platform. So if you purchase the essential pack, you have to attempt mock exams on your own. However, if you purchase the value pack, you can attempt your mock examinations within the exam platform which we have created. I said that we had replicated the Pearson VUE system, which is used by CIMA. So you can practice all your 5 mocks via this examination platform, which is actually better because it helps you replicate a real examination environment. And on top of that, we are providing professional marking and feedback for 3 of these mocks. So for mocks 3, 4, and 5, the lead evaluators and lead tutors at TCS will be providing personalized feedback. So what you need to do is you just need to attempt the mock exams in our online platform, and within 48 hours you would receive personalized feedback from our lead tutors and lead evaluators. If you are coming through the FLP route, I would suggest that you go for the value pack because you need some type of guidance from our tutors. So because of that, I would suggest that you seek professional marking and feedback especially if you're coming through the FLP route. And on top of that, even if you're coming through the CIMA general route, if you struggled with the OTQ examinations, and if you're coming coming back to CIMA studies after a prolonged study break, then again I would suggest that it's better if you go for the value pack, because you can gain personalized feedback from tutors. And on top of that, theory recaps are provided for E2, F2, and P2 areas. As I highlighted earlier, if you're coming after a prolonged study break, or if you're coming through the FLP system, definitely you need to brush up your knowledge about E2, F2, and P2 related areas, and going through our theory recaps, which are concise and downloadable, you'll be able to gain an in-depth understanding about the type of knowledge which you need to possess, and how this knowledge can be replicated in your real exam. And the investment is going to be £199. All right, so I'm opening the flow for the Q&A session. Before I do that, let me show you some samples of the content which we are providing. So I said that we are providing something called the annotated prescene. So this is a sample of the annotated prescene, a type of an annotated prescene which we are providing. So you can see that we had made all comments, we had taken out the most important information from the prescene, and thereby we had come up with a summary. So if you go through these points, that's enough knowledge to understand the prescene document. And on top of that, our lead tutors, as part of these comments, will highlight the areas which can be tested, syllabus content which can be tested, and probable questions which can which you'd experience at the real exam. So these the type of an annotated Prescene you would get your hands on if you purchase our products. And on top of that, I said that we conduct a separate industry analysis. So these are the set of slides, sample slides which we have prepared. So these are the contents. Okay, so purpose of the industry analysis and whatnot. And at the very end, we had used real life examples so that you can better understand the real life industry dynamics. And on top of that, let me take you through the give me a second please. Yeah, the revision cards, I said that you'd gain you'd get access to revision cards if you purchase the value pack. So these the type of content or material you would have access to. So all syllabus content are provided in a precise manner. And at the very end, I said we are providing personalized feedback if you purchase the value pack. And these the type of personalized feedback our tutors are providing. So extensive evaluations has been carried out on a paragraph and on a paragraph by paragraph basis. So you can see throughout this document extensive comments and suggestions has been provided. So that's the type of feedback you'd have access to if you purchase the value pack. All right, so you know, all this type of information, and as well as you can access our free content via our website. So you know, the essential pack, you can purchase it from here, and you can go through the FAQs. If you go through the FAQ sections, you'd see that you'd gain access to all the sample material which we are providing under each product category. So I would ask you to go through our website, just go through the FAQ sections to better understand the type of services which we are providing. All right, so having said that, any questions, folks? Any questions?
Hi, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is George. I'm joining you from Ghana.
Hi, George. Yeah, I think you have already purchased the value pack.
Exactly,
yeah?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes,
Superb decision.
The first
yeah.
question. Yes, the first question is, I think because your, or what do you call it, because the Prescene is not ready, I think Sir told me your system is not yet ready. I mean, the online system.
Yeah.
So my first question is, when will it be ready? So that at least, as you're explaining, and I can be getting onto it and become used to the system.
Yeah.
That's the first question I have.
Yeah, George.
The second one, if I can finish, then you can, if you can attend to me, if I have a second one out.
Yeah. So
the
George,
second question is, yes.
Can I answer your first question?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So George, you were saying that the content is still not there. Yeah, that's because the Prescene document is only released next week. So before that, we are not supposed to provide any hint about the type of Prescene which is provided for you. And after releasing the Prescene material only, you would have access to all the content, because before that we cannot release any information pertaining to the Prescene. That's against the standards or the ethos of CIMA. So you'd don't worry about anything. You would have access to all this content which I spoke about by next Friday. Okay.
Yeah. The second question is, you said you have a pass guarantee. So
yeah,
if a student buys your package and unfortunately the person fails to pass, the person will be given the opportunity to use the same resources for the next exam, right?
Yeah.
But what happens if the person still fails the second attempt? I'm just curious.
You know, we have not, George,
because
we have not come.
you know how it is. There are many students who want to join, and they are using me as a case study. So I talk to my friends in Ghana here who are also pursuing the CIMA, especially the FLP route. Yeah. But their fear is you know, they are not aware of you. I mean, your tuition. So they want to see how things will go, then they can join. So they have been asking me questions. So that's what I'm asking. So if you are able to give me the answers, when they ask, I can also give them the answers.
Yeah, so George, what you can tell your friends is first things first. I've never come across a student who fails after using our material. So there's absolutely nothing to worry there, because you know, you can just go through the testimonials which we have received, which is on our website as well as our Facebook page. So just go through the testimonials, then you'd know what the other students are telling about us. That's exactly why our pass rates are extremely higher
Very
than
high.
the
Yes.
average pass rates. So I don't think after doing the 5 mock exams, and since you have purchased the value pack, you can gain personalized feedback from our tutors. You can ask any question from our tutors. So with that type of support, you'll definitely, you won't have to do the exam twice. Okay. So there's
All right.
nothing to worry there. If you commit yourself, what we need from you is commitment. If you can commit yourself properly, if you can put in a lot of effort within these 6 weeks, if you stick to the study plans which we are providing, our tutors will be providing you a study plan after the Prescene is released. So if you stick to the study plan, if you do what we ask you to do, then it's easy to pass the management case study.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful.
You are welcome, George. Thank you for raising your questions. Any other questions, folks? Any other questions? All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So I'm going to conclude today's session. Before concluding today's session, these are the ways in which you can contact us. You can just drop us a message on our via our website, or you can send us an email, or WhatsApp us, or you can join our WhatsApp group for MCS and, you know, raise your concerns there. And you can I invite you guys to follow us on our social media handles: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. I invite you to go through the YouTube channel, because all the webinars as well as the Prescene analysis videos which we are doing will be uploaded onto YouTube. And this webinar as itself will be, the recorded session of this webinar will be uploaded on YouTube. And concluding thoughts: approach MCS as an opportunity to learn rather than an exam to pass. So thank you guys. Thank you very much for joining in. I'll see you guys next Saturday. And in the second webinar, which is happening next Saturday at 5 p.m. UK time, I will be taking you through the Prescene document. So it's of utmost importance that you understand how to decrypt the Prescene document. So that's the knowledge which you gain in the second webinar. So I hope to see you next week. See you and good night.
Thank you very much and good night.
Welcome, George. See you. Good night.
Bye.